This tutorial is brought to you by InformationAnalyticsInstitute.com. Hello and welcome to another Information Analytics Institute video tutorial. My name is Dmitry. Today we will take a look at an example from Chapter 2 of our course. And in this video I will explain how to set up a Fisheye Picture Menu component to control the values displayed on a column chart. Remember, you can download step-by-step instructions and files for this dashboard at our website. The link is in the description below. Okay, so what I have here is I have a prepared dashboard. It has a blank canvas, but it has a few tables with sample data prepared in the spreadsheet in order to save time during this video. Okay, so let's start by going through the settings and all the different options you have with a Fisheye Picture Menu component. I'm going to go to Selectors, and there it is right here, Fisheye Picture Menu under the Selectors twig. I'm going to drag it to the canvas. I'm not going to resize it because I cannot. This object's size is controlled from the settings inside of the object rather than just by dragging one of its sides and stretching it. You cannot do that. Okay, so let's start by binding its title and labels to something. So I'm going to bind the title of this object to the cell H4, to this fruit. So the title appears right here on top, and you can see that it gets the value. The word fruit is displayed. The labels, I will use these three labels, the apple, orange, and kiwi. And the order the order they appear in the spreadsheet is important. We're gonna get back to that later. So I'm selecting these three. Notice that the apple immediately is displayed, and that is because by default the first option is selected on the picture menu, and therefore the first one is apple because it's the first one in this selection right here. Notice this other icon right here next to the spreadsheet selection icon. This is the manual entry icon. So if I wanted to change these manually, I could go here and actually type something and it would change right here. So now it's custom. Notice that the spreadsheet connectivity got lost. So now these are three custom words hard-coded into it. So I want to go back to the spreadsheet connected nodes. I'm going to reconnect them to the spreadsheet, and notice that the word became apple again. The next is a very important set of settings. It's called images. Now the Fisheye Picture Menu is an image-based component, so the selections on it are basically images. And so it's very intuitive and very convenient if you choose the proper images which are appropriate for the choices and which are intuitive. Then the user will be very comfortable and convenient for the user to use that, because they just have to click or hover over pictures, which is many times better than just choosing something from a combo box, let's say. There are two modes in which it can operate. There's the embedded mode, and there is by URL mode. In the embedded mode, the pictures get embedded into this dashboard itself. So the picture files literally are included into the XLF file and the SWF file. So when I import them, they stay with the dashboard until I do something with them, till I remove them or switch them to another images. So let's add a few sample pictures to display this. I'm going to click this import button here. You can see this import thumbnails window appear, and here the images would appear here as a list. So I can click this click to add images button, and we have sample images ready in the students files. The students files is an archive that you can download from our website, and the link you can find the link in the description below, which accompanies the course book, which contains the step-by-step for this dashboard and other dashboards within that course. So you can download that from the website, and you can use these files for this sample. Now let's go. You will find the folder 2, yearly sales by division, Fisheye, and here there's a folder called graphics, I'm just going to choose 3 random pictures like so. Now notice these 3 pictures appeared here. Since the path is too long, it gets truncated, so you cannot see the file name, but if you click on it, you can see the file name. It's chicago.jpg, losangeles.jpg, and miami.jpg. Now, the pictures you can use are JPEG format, PNG, BMP, or GIF file formats. It is best to use the pictures which are square, but you can use any other kind of form as well if you want. And the picture should be approximately 100 by 100 pixels. The bigger picture will not be displayed better because the Xcelsius limits it to 100 by 100 pixels. And the size of the files should be reasonable. They shouldn't be like 10 megabytes each. There's no strict limit, but it should be something not too big. Now notice these 2 buttons on the bottom, the down arrow and the up arrows, and these are used to change the order with which the images appear. That is very important because that obviously affects where the picture would appear on the component on the Fisheye Picture Menu. So this is how you can change the order. Also, there are these 2 icons right here. This icon is used to change the file. So if I click it, I can choose another image to be used instead of this one. And there's also the delete icon. If I click it, the image gets deleted from the list, and I can delete all 3. So let me choose the 3 images again, like so. I click OK, and you can see these images are displayed on the Fisheye Picture Menu component in the order that we have set in this import dialog. The second option here is by URL. It's when the images are downloaded, when the dashboard is running, they get immediately downloaded from URLs, 1 URL per image, from internet, basically from some website or from file storage. That can be very useful if the pictures are supposed to be dynamic, because that allows for that dynamic change of the picture as soon as the picture gets changed on that URL. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to use 3 random pictures from the internet. Notice that I can tie this to the spreadsheet, and I have 3, again, totally random URLs from the internet for some sample pictures. In this case, these are apple, orange, and kiwi pictures. You can see that they get downloaded as I click on them. They got downloaded, and you can see they are inserted into the Fisheye Picture Menu component. Now there's also the manual entry icon here as well, so if I wanted to change these URLs or to hardcode them, not to keep them in the spreadsheet, I could do this right here as well. But it's usually a much better practice to keep as much as you can in the spreadsheet, because that is easier to read in the dashboard, just easier to read the dashboard, and that is much better if you want to automate something or to tie some logic to something. That is much faster to do if everything that you have is in the spreadsheet. So we will leave them tied to the spreadsheet cells, and you can see that these pictures are right there. If I preview the dashboard, or when I open the SWF with it, they get immediately updated. So they get downloaded every time the dashboard is running. And the same restrictions in terms of file formats and sizes apply to these ones as well. The next very important concept is data insertion, and that is something that all the control objects, meaning that all the objects that insert data into the spreadsheet, have. So the data insertion is common between all the control objects, and what this menu controls, it controls how does the object insert the data into the spreadsheet based on the choice or action that the user performs upon the object. So in this case, when I click or hover over a picture, what does this object do to the spreadsheet? What does it insert? What kind of a value and how? We have a video which covers these in great detail. and you can find the link to that in the description below. For this demonstration, I'm going to use the row insertion type, which I'm going to explain once we actually do the example, once I actually build that functionality for you. These settings, further the clear destination with no selected item and insert on settings, are covered in that data insertion video as well. And we will not use these settings for this video. If you are interested on how these work, then please go to that other video to learn that. Okay, now let's move forward. We're going to go to the behavior tab, and here we have some settings for it. We have the insert on setting. What that does, it sets up the way the insertion is made. So when does this object insert data into the spreadsheet? When you click the image, or when you hover over the image. The hover over can be very convenient because if you want to quickly view the values for many options, let's say the Fisheye Picture Menu had not 3 but 20 different options on it, then instead of clicking 20 times, you could just hover over them and quickly see other changes on the canvas. Let's say if some object, like in our case that would be a bar chart or a column chart, that will be changed immediately without even clicking on the object. We'll use the mouse click though for this demonstration. There's also the zoom size and zoom speed settings. What that control is that zoom size controls the pronunciation of the fisheye effect. So how much larger does the icon, does the image of that particular button get bigger as you hover over it, and the zoom speed is how fast does it grow to that size. So let's make the zoom size really just 1.1, so it's going to be 10% larger, and let's make it grow really slow, like very slow. And let's preview how it looks. You can see it gets just a bit bigger, and it takes some time for it to become bigger. And let's try another one, like it becomes literally like 70% larger and does that very fast. You can see it's instantaneously larger, and it's really like 70% larger. This is really, we don't want this to work like this, so we would use something like let's say 1.2 and moderately slow. Okay, the next setting is selected item. This is a very interesting setting. It has the item by position. Here you select the default item, the item selected by default. See here you can choose, currently the thumbnail 1 is selected, I can choose thumbnail 3. So when the dashboard is running, and for the design mode as well, the thumbnail 3 is selected. Notice that the label changed to Kiwi because Kiwi is the third option. Also, there is no selection or -1 value when nothing is selected, and notice the label became blank. Now you can tie this to the spreadsheet cell to take that value from there. So if some logic in the spreadsheet returns -1, the item, nothing will be selected on the Fisheye Picture menu. And there is the insert selected item option, which is very interesting. Essentially what it does, it inserts the label, the position, so it's like the position insertion. It inserts the position of the selected label. So let's say the label 1 was selected, it would insert the number 1, but at the same time, if some other control object inserts a number there, like 1, 2, 3, or -1 for that matter for no selection, the object would obey that, and basically this is the way, this is the reason for this option to exist, is for other objects to control the selected item on this object. Okay, the next one is ignore blank cells, and what this does is it ignores cells at the end of the range. In the case of Fisheye Picture Menu, this works with the URL pictures. when the URL is removed, let's say this URL was blank, the item would be removed. So if I ignore blank cells, I check this, and if I delete this URL, notice that the object gets smaller. It now just has two options because there's no URL for the picture. If I deselect this, it will remain with three objects, with three items to be selected, because there is the label for it, Kiwi. The label is still selected, but there's no URL for the picture, so you can see the placeholder for the picture. There's no picture for this item on the Fisheye Picture menu. And as I undo and place the URL back, you can see that the picture returns there. The last setting on this tab is dynamic visibility. That is a very important concept. What that controls, it controls when the object is visible or when it's not visible while the dashboard is running, so basically suppressed. There is a video which explains dynamic visibility in greater detail. The link to that will also be in the description below. Briefly, what this does, it compares the value in the status field, in the status cell in the spreadsheet, to the key. So let's say the key was 1. What that would mean is that the status field has to have the value 1 in order for the object to be visible. In all other cases, the object would be suppressed and not be visible. And this is very useful to control dynamically what is displayed on the screen, to create interactive menus and multiple windows on the dashboard. The next tab is animation and effects. There's the enable sound option, which basically turns on a default sound which you cannot change, that sounds on every interaction with the object. So when you click on an icon or hover over an icon on the Fisheye Picture menu, it would produce a sound, so the selection is audible. The next thing is entry effect. That is displayed, that only works when the object is starting to be displayed, either when the dashboard is running or when its visibility is turned on during the dashboard view. What this does, it, for example, I'm just going to choose fade in. It creates some animated effect for it to appear. So I'm going to choose fade in effect, and the duration of that effect I choose to be 4 seconds. So it's going to be quite long. And you can see here when I preview the dashboard, it appears for 4 seconds by fading in slowly. So that's exactly what that does. Let's go to the next tab. The last tab here in the settings of the Fisheye Picture menu is appearance. Now, as I mentioned before, the sizing of this component is not possible in the conventional way. So you cannot just click here and drag the side of the object to resize it. You simply just cannot. The size of this component is based on the widths and height of the images displayed here in pixels, and also the margins between them. So you have the sizing method, which controls how the pictures get scaled. So if I click stretch, you can see this orange just stretched up and down because it's not square. The image that used for it is not square, and scale simply makes it the biggest possible without changing the ratio of the picture. Here, with the widths and height fields in the images, I control the size of the images in pixels, so I can make them to be, let's say, not square, 100 by 60. And here you can see with the scale, the ratio on the pictures didn't change. So if I choose stretch now, all of them would get stretched in a weird way, but they would fill the area of the thumbnail, the area of the button, the area of the selectable item on the Fisheye Picture menu. So notice as I change these, the object gets bigger, but I still cannot change its size. Also, we have the margins, both horizontal and vertical, and margins control the distance between every item on the Fisheye Picture menu. So if I change this to 6, you can see that the margins became bigger, and again, the object adjusted to accommodate those, so the object got a bit bigger. Let's get back to the 60 by 60 and the margin of 3 like so, which are the defaults, and go to the next tab. The next tab is text. Here you can display or not display particular text within the object. And this tab is common with all the objects in Xcelsius, where any kind of text is set up right here, and you choose to display or not to display it, its position and formatting. I'm going to turn on the selection to 1 so you can see the label right here. And right now what I can do is I can, for example, turn off the title. You would see that text disappear, or I can turn off the label. You would see the text and the whole label area disappear from the object. Now here I can choose its font, the font size, the font style, alignment, the color of the text, its position, and offsets. Also, the number format is available for me if I wanted to display currency or anything like that. I could set those up right here with all the prefixes, suffixes, the amount of decimal places, and the style of negative number display. So that is that. I'm going to turn these back on. And the last tab for the settings of this object is color. This is where all the colors for the object are controlled. And for example, with the background color, you can currently see it's white. This is the color on the background of the object. And if I change it to, let's say, something visible like green, you would see that the background becomes of a different color. And all other things in this object are, you can set the color as well, like for the label header, which is this area, and for thumbnails you have the default color, which is the background. You have the over color, which is the color that the label obtains when you hover over it, and the selected color. When you select it, this is the color of this rim right here, and also the color which tints the image of the selected label on the Fisheye Picture Menu. Okay, so let's actually start building the example dashboard. I'm going to delete this object we already created. So let's create it again. I'm going to drag it right here. Create it again. Let's start with adding right with the images. So I'm going to choose embedded. Click the import button. Click to add images, and we're getting to these images that are again in the student's files. I'm gonna just choose all 6 of them, holding the shift key like so, and click open. Notice that all 6 of them appear in this list right here, and now I want them to be in a very particular order. I want these 6 images to appear in the exact same order as the labels that I will use here. So here you can see New York, Miami, Chicago, Tiny Town, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. That is the exact order I want these pictures to be in. So I'm going to find New York by clicking on them. There it is on the very end. And I'm going to use the up arrow to move it to the position 1. So now you can see New York on the first position. The second should be Miami, and Miami is now last, so moving to number 2. Then Chicago, number 3. Tiny Town should become number 4. San Francisco, number 5, and Los Angeles, number 6. So now I have them in the proper order. I click OK, and they appear in the exact order I need on the Fisheye Picture Menu. So New York, Miami, Chicago, Tiny Town, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. That is exactly what I want. So now I'm going to go to the data insertion, and what I will do is I will choose the position. I'm going to change the position to the row insertion type. So that will select a row from an array of rows, and depending on the item selected, it would insert an appropriate row, the corresponding row, into the destination area. So for the source data for this, I'm going to use these 6 rows like so, with all their columns. And for the destination, I will use this row right here. Now notice that the source, cells that I use for the source are colored green, and the cells that I use for the destination are colored yellow. That is not technically necessary, so the dashboard would work without that. But what that does, and we do that for color coding, that means that the green cells, the color green means that these cells are feeding data into some object on the canvas. So some object on the canvas is using this data to display it or to use it in some other way. The yellow cells are the cells where the objects from the canvas insert the data back into the spreadsheet. So in this case, the Fisheye Picture Menu will insert the data into these cells. So I click OK, and now you can see the source data is set to this array of cells, and the destination is set to this row right here. Now the next thing I want to do is to insert some sample data into these insertion cells. I want to do that for the sake of the development. That does not affect the dashboard while it's running, but what it does, it inserts default values for the dashboard to work in the preview, for it to look as if it's working in its working state. So I'm going to choose the first row right here. I'm going to hit Ctrl+C, or you can right click and hit copy. And I'm going to click here and I'm going to choose paste special values, this icon right here, and paste the values. So you can see that the values for the New York are pasted here, but as soon as the dashboard is running, the fisheye picture menu would replace these with the row, with the according row to the selected item on the fisheye picture menu. Okay, so now let's set a few options for the picture menu. I'm going to go to behavior. I'm going to leave this at mouse click. I'm going to change the zoom size to 1.25, so it's going to get 25% larger. I'm going to set the zoom speed to 2.5 approximately. I'm going to not display the title and the labels, so it's going to be just the pictures, which is enough for us because it does display what is selected and shows us the full list of options on the component. And now let's actually preview how this works at this state. I'm going to add the spreadsheet table component. This component just displays a piece of the spreadsheet real time on the canvas while the dashboard is running. So I'm going to choose these cells right here, and notice that it shows the same cell, so it shows the piece of the spreadsheet. And now let's preview the dashboard and see how it works. So you can see here now the New York data is inserted, and if I choose Miami, notice that all the data, the whole row for Miami with all the numbers in it, is inserted right into these yellow cells. If I choose Tiny Town, you can see Tiny Town is inserted here, and you can see 18.43, 114.21, 1908.9, and other numbers. So everything basically is inserted. The whole row is just copied into these cells as you select an item in the fisheye picture menu. Okay, so I'm going to delete this, and the last step that I want to do is I want to add a column chart to display the data that is inserted by the fisheye picture menu. So I'm going to go to Charts Twig and choose Column Chart, drag it to the canvas like so. I'm going to stretch it to occupy the whole space I want it to occupy. Now the settings of the charts are covered with a great detail in another video that we have, and the link to that video will be in the description below. In this case, I'm just going to use by series. I'm gonna, and these are the series that get displayed on the chart. I'm going to add a series to it, and the values for the columns on the chart would be taken from right here, from these 5 cells. So notice I click OK, and the values are displayed in the form of these columns. Now I'm going to bind the category labels to the years, because these are the years. It just by default now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I bind this to the years, you can see the appropriate years appear there. And I'm just going to remove the chart title so it doesn't get displayed like so. And again, for settings of the chart, for all these settings about the charts, we'll have a separate video, and the link to that video will be in the description below. So now let's preview the dashboard and see how it works. So now you can see that as I click on an item on the fisheye picture menu, the chart is displaying the numbers for that appropriate for that item accordingly. So this is a very useful, I would say, form of interaction. It's very intuitive. It's when the user sees how the data changes as soon as he clicks on something. It's animated, so it is interactive. It looks very nice, and it's very useful analytically. Remember that you can download files as well as the step-by-step instructions for this dashboard at our website. The link for those would be in the description below. Subscribe to our channel if you want to get more videos like this one. Thank you for watching, and good luck.
Here at Information Analytics Institute, we provide remote and on-site Crystal Dashboard Xcelsius training for people who want to start building interactive dashboards or seek to get better at it. The dashboards that are built during the training course cover numerous useful Xcelsius components, methods, and dashboard building techniques to get you started building dashboards in no time. We provide training for database and Lawson connectivity, where you can learn to connect dashboards to various data sources. We also provide audit and completion services, where we audit your existing dashboards for compliance with dashboarding best practices or complete any dashboard that you have remaining unfinished. For more information or to contact us, visit our website at www.informationanalytics.com.